So I read the story of Samson again in the book of Judges, Judges chapter 14 and chapter 15. And to be honest, it reminds me of how much indiscipline have robbed us, especially we believers, of the things that God wants to do through us, right? Of course, we all know the story, but reading it again just reminds me of how indiscipline and how lack of self control and how not listening to the right voices, maybe our parents, maybe our mentors, maybe our pastors, how much these things can impact and influence God's assignment and God's purpose for our lives. And there's also something that God was just, there's just something I was thinking through during the week. And it has to do with when we are at work. A lot of we believers do not know how to guard not just our hearts, but even our mouth. And to be honest, it is also part of lack of self control. We tend to forget that a lot of times there are watchdogs among staff, yes, staff members. And these watchdogs are usually the people that appear really kind, really nice, those ones that are so nice, those people you can easily, send message to on Teams to help you with one or two things, those people that can tell relatable stories. Some of them are actually management watchdogs. And maybe not directly, but, you know, just sort of indirectly. And I don't know why my heart is just, going towards the direction. Maybe because you just want to use this to warn somebody that's going to watch this video for this week on Words of Grace with Esther, that why don't you just, withdraw a little bit from those work cackles, work friends. Not that you won't talk to them, not that you won't relate to them, but relate with them rather. But why not be careful what you say to them? And not just at work, even at church, even at home. Yeah, sometimes a lot of things that we say might put us into trouble. I'm not saying this is exactly what happened to Samson. Of course, we know the Samson story. We know how he went on to marry a woman, a strange woman from another, tribe that God doesn't want the people of Israel to marry from, and because he's a Nazarite. I don't want to go into the whole of the story, but I know we know the story. Yeah. So I am just encouraging us this week that we need to put back our discipline. We need to invite back into our hearts how to manage our self control, how we need to put these things in check, how we need to put these things in place so that everything that God has proposed for us, so that everything that has placed in our hands can come to pass, so that we'll be able to achieve these things, not just achieve some of them, but to be able to achieve all of them. Yes, Samson was a leader. If I remember clearly, I think he led the people of Israel for about 20 years. But that was not just what God's plan was for him. Maybe not to rule them for the rest of his life. I don't know, maybe that was God's plan or not. But he didn't lead as much as he should have. And the end of him was much worse than the beginning. And this is a warning to us, I believe. You can read the story again in the book of Judges. Yes, Judges chapter 14 and 15. And yeah, you could go forward, like read more. You can read further. Yeah, just to catch the whole story. Yeah. And I think it didn't start from 14. I think it started from maybe, is it 12 or 13 chapters? Yeah. So please go on and read it again and remind yourself how much of discipline that God requires of you to be able to achieve all that He has placed in your hands. Thank you for watching, and I know this has blessed you. Thank you again, and take care of yourself. I'll speak to you again. Bye.